The Canadian Prime Minister just schooled Donald Trump, and both Americans and Canadians are cheering. Welcome back to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. The second term of Donald Trump has managed to fracture just about every relationship the United States has with the rest of the world. Chief among them, our closest ally and neighbor, Canada. Trump's bellicose verbiage has earned the ire of our northern neighbors, among many others. Here's an overview.
So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
Which is alarming for Canada, given Trump's nonstop talk of annexation.
I feel they have to become a state.
It's never going to happen.
When Canadian premiers were in Washington this week, the signals from the White House were in fact ominous.
What about this 51st state talk?
Republican senators, so often wary of angering Trump, simply don't want to talk about it.
Should we be taking this 51st state talk seriously?
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine why statements like that would upset Canadians. And upset them, Trump did. Wait until you see how our ever-affable northern neighbors reacted today. In fact, Trump's rhetoric caused such a stir, it is now widely credited with swinging the Canadian election toward a win by the new Prime Minister, Mark Carney. In the lead-up to today's meeting, Carney had this to say about the prospect of Canada joining the United States.
All right. We've heard Mr. Trump on April 23rd and his surrogates throughout the final days of the campaign reiterate the idea that they believe Canada should become the 51st state. On the campaign trail, you said on multiple occasions that respect for Canada would be one of the key things in terms of having a meeting with him. Do you think over the past few days we have seen respect for Canada from the Trump administration?
Look, it's always important to distinguish want from reality. La volonté et la réalité, right? What someone wants and what is reality, and what the Canadian people clearly have stated, virtually without exception, is this will never, ever happen. And if any of the leaders of the party and their representatives would attest to that, I think the votes attest to it, I think the public dialogue attests to it as well. We're meeting as heads of our government to discuss that partnership. Now, I'm not pretending those discussions will be easy, or they won't proceed in a straight line. There will be zigs and zags, ups and downs. But as I said in my remarks, I will fight for the best deal for Canada, and only accept the best deal for Canada. We have more than enough to do here at home. That point about we can give ourselves more than the Americans can take away is absolutely right. We can have a bigger boost to our economy, to incomes, to jobs, by focusing on building one Canadian economy, by building these nation-building projects, by focusing on getting productivity up, by reducing government waste, by driving investment in this country.
In other words, going into today's meeting, the battle lines were drawn, just like the border between the U.S. and Canada. And for the record, that line is not arbitrary. But tell that to Donald Trump. He and Carney met earlier today in the Oval Office, and the only thing more amazing than how off the rails and embarrassing for Trump it got is that Carney remained so calm the entire time. We've put together a little montage of highlights for you, so make sure to watch them all. You won't be sorry.
And it's also a beautiful, as a real estate developer, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person, but when I looked at that beauty, I said, that's the way it was meant to be. They get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. And we have done that in the past. And part of that, as the President just said, is with respect to our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership. And I'll say this as well, that the President has revitalized international security, revitalized NATO, and us playing our full weight in NATO, and that will be part of it.
That's true. Well, we don't do much business with Canada from our standpoint.
Well, respectfully, Canadians' view on this, and
is not going to change on the 51st state. Secondly, we are the largest client of the United States in the totality of all the goods. So we are the largest client of the United States. We have a tremendous auto sector between the two of us, and the changes they've made have been helpful. 50% of a car that comes from Canada is American. That's not like anywhere else in the world. And to your question about is there one thing? No, this is a bigger discussion. There are much bigger forces involved, and this will take some time and some discussions, and that's why we're here, to have those discussions, and that is represented by who's sitting around the table.
And that, dear viewers, is what you call statesmanship. In the same meeting, Carney also revealed that he asked Trump to stop referring to Canada as the 51st state, though he also admitted he didn't know if Trump would honor the request. Mark Carney just schooled Donald Trump without raising his voice, or the kind of bluster Trump is known for. He made his position clear and corrected Trump constantly. Trump, meanwhile, looked like a man in cognitive decline, totally out of touch with reality, and babbled that Canada would never want to join the United States. Maybe that's also Trump's decaying mental state, or maybe it's that he's so surrounded by sycophants at this point that he genuinely doesn't know that his policy of making Canada a state is wildly unpopular, both in the US and Canada itself. It's pretty amazing to stop and consider that in that meeting, Mark Carney better represented and spoke for the American people than Donald Trump, the actual president, did. And Carney's not even American. It's a sad state of affairs. On the other hand, since Trump has ruled out military force to acquire Canada, and with his already unpopular tariff policies becoming even more unpopular by the minute, both in the US and abroad, maybe he will finally take a hint. He just humiliated himself in front of the world by looking unprepared, uninformed, and outright delusional. It's time for him to take the hint. For now, Americans and Canadians have a reason to celebrate. Mark Carney just discredited Donald Trump, and Trump looks increasingly impotent on both the domestic and the international stage. This is Occupy Democrats.